don't need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
My first question today comes from Mel, and Mel is writing from Orlando, Florida. She says, "Hi, Betsy. I'm looking for help with my kitchen. The previous owners put in this granite and backsplash. I think it's outdated and way too brown for my tastes. The rest of the house is very colorful. We have other renovations to go first, so it'll be a year or two before we can replace the countertop and backsplash. Is there anything I can do to make it look updated and more colorful in the meantime? Also, the kitchen gets no direct sunlight, so it tends to look very dark. Thank you. I love your podcast." Well, thanks for writing, Mel. So yes, even though there's only 2 pictures and I have a limited view into the rest of the house, I can see between the lemon wallpaper in the room adjoining the kitchen and the sort of palm frond artwork that the rest of the house might have this light beachy vibe, whereas the kitchen is really stuck in the late 90s, early 2000s with the chocolate brown cabinets, the chocolate brown island, the kind of modeled countertop that's granite that has the gold flecks with the brown. Then you've got these large format beige tiles that are meant to look like stone with a lot of movement and variation. And then the backsplash, oh my goodness, it's got the chocolate, mocha Chino, different kind of color range of brown mosaic tiles that are the tiny squares. I just loathe mosaic tiles in almost any application. There are some very high-end mosaics that make like a really large picture that I can tolerate, even though I'm not sure I'd splurge for them. But the tiny square or circular or even rectilinear mosaics that were popular in the early aughts, I just can't. You're asking how to brighten and lighten this kitchen. And you could do that with a more colorful runner rug. You could do that with some accessories on the countertop, but that's clearly clutter, and I don't want you to get clutter for clutter's sake. This is dominatingly brown, and the things that are making it brown are all these renovation selections. And I know that this isn't a priority for you, but I would pop out that backsplash. It's very affordable. It's not too hard to do. And having a different tile behind the stove beneath the cabinets would make a world of difference. It would break up that brown on brown on brown. Now, you've probably heard of the peel and stick versions of tile, but those are really best when put on a wall, not when applied directly onto other tile. So I don't think this would be a place where those would be successful. Also, because of the tiny mosaics, I don't even think the tile tattoos would work well here. Now, if you're completely resistant to changing out this backsplash due to budgetary constraints, the one other thing you may consider is painting this tile. So just painting it one clean color would even be a big help in breaking up the brown. Also, I can't see the bar stools in the limited pictures, but if the bar stools were a different color, that could certainly help. But when you're inside this kitchen, you're not going to see the bar stools, just like I can't see them from the picture. So the key would really be to either bring in accessories, which may just be counter clutter, change out the backsplash, or paint the backsplash. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, bringing in some different runner rugs that would go with the color palette you create with that backsplash. Those are my ideas. Now, you want to make sure to keep this space relatively cohesive. So if people are coming from that adjacent room that has the wallpaper with the lemons on the green vines, that has the light blue backdrop, you want to incorporate some of those colors. I think the green would be really nice because too much of that baby blue is just going to be a huge dose. And blue is not a color that we readily associate with kitchens just because there's not a lot of food that's in the blue color range. And yellow, I think, would just be too vibrant, too overwhelmingly cheerful. So I think one of the variations of that green would not only go beautifully for the backsplash, but then would also tie in the palm artwork that I see in the other adjacent area to the kitchen. There we go, Mel. I've solved all your problems. I hope that helps. A big thank you to Aton and the Embassy who wrote our theme song. A shout out to Catherine Heller who owns the podcast shop and is our editor extraordinaire. We also want to thank Ginny Sunasan and her team at the Savvy Podcast Agency for their help with our social, our YouTube channel, and so much more. We also want to thank Uploft, which is our parent company who supports this podcast. And lastly, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all your support.